Morning, folks. Welcome back to the Hoard. So I have to remake this video given that I fell on my butt and got the camera lens wet, and the last video didn't come out very well. Well, guys, as I promised, I told you I had some big deals cooking, and let me show you one of the deals that has come through. Now, I've never owned an Odyssey before, and I'm going to have to look over this thing and find out what year it is and so forth. It has front suspension, no rear suspension. The front suspension's a lot like the TRX 200. I got this from Stoney. He put new front tires on it, and I guess he indicated he thought it was a barn find, or I think he told me it was a barn find. I need to come up with a seat for it. It'll start, but it really won't run. I think it needs some carburetor work. It has the mirrors. These are kind of rare to find on them. Motor's complete, and as I said, it did start, but it doesn't like to run. You guys can see the torque converter back there, the disc brake, the exhaust is intact. Looks like the air filter and all is intact. One thing, I don't own an Odyssey, but you see the coil and the wire and one spark plug, and then you got another spark plug here without a wire on it. So I'm not sure why two and only one. So I don't know what's going on with that. You also have a bit of a rat's nest up here. I don't know what that story is. So I am going to have to spend a few minutes looking over the wires. I don't know where the nameplate and so forth is for this thing. You know, the front plate that tells you the year, the model, and stuff like that. So I'm going to have to look it over. But it seems to be in pretty good shape. So yeah, this is my only Honda two-stroker. So it will be interesting to have in the Hoard. One of the things I think I'd like to do, I'd like to just slip my portable CDI box on this thing to see if it'll run a two-stroke. It'll be murder on the batteries because it's firing twice as often. And it could fire up to 10,000 RPM, right? Or 8,000 RPM or something like that. So it's a bit more than the four-strokers will run up. But it'll be interesting. He threw in a compressor. He got himself a new one. This one, he indicated there were some problems with the switches, but it does run and make air and so forth. So the Odyssey, the compressor. Last time I was up there, I was looking at, this is a mower deck for the Murray, and I believe it'll fit mine. It'll be a bolt-on. This one's in really pretty decent shape. I also picked up another Murray wide body, and so I mean, there's not much to say about this. It starts, it runs. He just put a fresh battery into it. It's got the, try to do this without getting broken. It's got the numbers here. So we got quite a bit of rain, as you can see there. And they kind of threw in this quad. It's 110 cc's, you know, electric starter on top. A lot of loose bolts though, which is a little scary, especially when the starter's bolts loose. To me, that's beginning to indicate that it might not be in very good shape. It doesn't have a spark plug in it, which is also really not a good indication. They kind of threw this in, you know, oh yeah, we got this also. So the little bit I've looked it over, the frame actually looks like it's in halfway decent shape, but it does have, you know, some issues. That's obviously a weld. I think the rear end's about blown out of it. It does have front and back suspension. Chain actually looks halfway decent, as does the sprocket. I don't think there's a whole lot of miles on it. I don't see any breaks in the frame, and this frame actually looks more solid than the other one. So this one might, and it looks a little bigger than the other one. This one might be interesting to get rolling again, and perhaps put the automatic in. It's got this top rack, which is helpful. The front steering doesn't appear bent like on mine, so it's interesting. What am I going to do with this? I don't know yet. He threw in a seat. This was meant to, you know, he kind of had it sitting on the Odyssey there, but one never turns down a tractor seat, eh? So that's the big deal, and you could see, you know, 1, 2, 3 things to get started, and you know, we'll check those out. They'll be good. Once again, this is my first time with an Odyssey, so I kind of look forward to that. The truck, I had some trouble with the truck on the way back. Well, on the way to, and then on the way back. I brought the trailer up. As you see, there was a motorcycle riding on that. The trailer only weighs like 500-600 pounds, the motorcycle another few hundred. So the truck was towing about 1,000 pounds. The bed of the truck was empty. The only thing in the truck was me and, you know, the stuff that normally hangs out in there. So I wouldn't consider the truck overloaded by any means. Even now, I mean, what are you looking at? I don't know, 4, 5, 6, call it 700 pounds on the back. And then the Odyssey isn't exactly light, nor is the compressor and the other thing, but everything on the trailer, I don't know, 800 pounds plus the trailer, 1,400. So the truck's working a little bit. On the way up there it wasn't, but I started having trouble with the shifting it. What would happen is you would step on the clutch, and the clutch would completely disengage. There was no issue with that. But as you would ease the clutch out, it's like the linkage would stick and the clutch would not engage until suddenly it would like go bam, you know, which is kind of tough. You're at a traffic light and you put it in gear and you ease the clutch out and you're starting to give it gas like you're going to go, and it's just sitting there, and then it waits for a second, and then the clutch dumps. It's like, you know, the tires chirp and it takes off like, you know, somebody kicked it in the butt. So I got something sticking under there. There was no smell of burning clutch or anything. Seems to get much worse as the clutch gets hot. I've towed a little bit with the Ranger and haven't had trouble with it before. The Ranger mostly wears stuff on its back. It normally doesn't tow. And, you know, I took it easy. I treat it gently. I mean, the Ranger's 30 years old now. So, you know, no use breaking it, right? Whatever you break, you got to fix. So I normally treat it pretty well, but the clutch wasn't feeling very good. It towed that trailer, no problem, you know, 65, 70. Unless I was going downhill with a strong wind behind me, I don't think she was going to do much more than 70. Even with the load on it, it was able to tow it about 65 without pushing it, right? I really wasn't pushing it. And if it ever got to the point where I was going uphill and it was working a little bit, I would just downshift her into fourth and, you know, pull the hill at 55, you know, knock 10 miles per hour off, right? Because I really didn't want to, you know, rev it too high getting up the hill. So I took it pretty easy. Seems that the clutch behaves a lot worse as it gets hot, or as it's hotter, because I brought it to his house and it was acting up, and we loaded it, and when I left his house it was fine, but after a very few miles it started to act up again. The way I got it home is I would only kick in the clutch enough to barely disengage it, and then I would shift it or stop at the light, leave it in gear and stop at the light, and then, you know, so I was just barely pushing it in, right? Then I'd, you know, engage it. It seemed better, because if you kicked it in all the way, it would hang up. It wouldn't engage, and then you would get the bam, right? And especially when you got 1,000, you know, a couple of thousand, when the truck's working with an extra 1,000 pounds worth of towing and stuff on its back, or 2,000 pounds a ton, you really don't need to be dumping the clutch. That's when you break things. So if anybody has a suggestion, like, oh yeah, they have that, and all you have to do is replace this one part, you know, we've done that a million times, I'd appreciate that. But as of right now, given its age of 30 years old and everything else, I think I'm probably going to end up having to drop the tranny, replace the clutch, the pressure plate, and I'm probably also going to do, there's a slave cylinder there, I'd probably also do that, because dropping the clutch or dropping the transmission is a whole lot of work, and I don't want to be, you know, $30 cheap on the slave and then have to go back in there. I'll probably do the, what do they call that, pilot bearing also, and the that's the one that goes in the end of the motor, and I'll probably also do the other bearing, the one that rests on the end of the forks that's used to push the fingers in on the transmission, on the pressure plate. I forgot what that's called, what that bearing's called, but I'll probably, you know, just do the whole thing. If I had to guess, I don't know, what am I looking at, $300 worth of parts, give or take a foot and a half. So the Ranger wants some love and attention. It's probably more from lack of use than anything else. I'm sure once I get in there, I'm going to discover that the clutch plate is like brand new. It's only got 40,000 miles on it, and once again, it's had a fairly easy life. Yeah, I'm not sure which way to do it. I normally like to take things apart and put them together as quickly as possible, especially on a vehicle. I hate having them sit unusable. So I have a tendency to order all the parts and just replace everything, or replace what's needed and leave the spares floating around. But I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys think. You guys normally I take all the opinions and all the reasons why, and you guys give me pretty good reasons for doing or for not doing something. Anyway, folks, I want to thank you all for watching and commenting and subscribing. Remember to keep your feet down, keep your head up, and you guys could see what I'm going to be working on. Get out there and enjoy all your days. Go get some deals. Bye now, folks.